Hi everyone, welcome back to the lesson 4 for our Python for Finance tutorial series. Just a very quick recap, in the first two videos, we were using web scraping to capture the live data from different web pages. In the last video, we've started to work on data analytics and data visualizations with the captured live data. Specifically, in the last video, we used the functions Resampling from Matplotlib and create the trading platform layout. So we are going to plot some graph in each of the subplots within the layout. In these lessons, we will focus on the candlestick chart. That is our main chart. I will show you how to plot the candlestick chart, how to plot the moving average along the candlestick chart, and how to present them, visualize them nicely. I've divided the videos into two parts. In the first part, we will focus on how to create a functions to perform the data processing and cleansing. And in the second part of the videos, we will focus on how to create a functions to animate and visualize the data. So let's go ahead and let's get started. Before we dive into the programming exercise, let's just have a very quick recap to see where we are. So in the previous videos, we import a few libraries, including the Panda data frame and the Matplotlib for plotting the function, for plotting the graphs, and also for visualizing the live data. We have the imports the daytime objects and also imports the maps, and then we set up the grid with the Matplotlib grid spat functions. And then we also have a list of stocks that we are looking after. We also defined a some kind of a figure design that is for each of the subplots, because there we have a nice subplot, so we are using the same design, so we put everything in the functions to make things easier. So there are three functions we are going to create in these lessons. The first is to convert the strings to numbers. So because we are going to pass two informations into these functions that includes the data frames and also includes the columns that contains the string value that we would like to convert them into a floating values. So we are going to have a function for that if is instance, that is the first value in that particular columns gets the, we're going to get the columns numbers and pass it on to it and check if whether this instant or whether these columns or this value should be specific, this value is a string or not. If that is a string, we are going to convert it back to the floating type. So we are going to pass these columns and then string dot replace. We are going to replace all the commas to an empty space, and then we are going to assign this column to a float type and return the data frame. So the second functions that we would like to have is the with data open high low close function. we are going to pass three parameters into these functions. That is the file names, the stock code, and also the use columns. And I will explain what we are going to pass it into these functions and what we expected to get out from these functions. So first thing first, we are going to with the CSV file and put everything into a Panda data framework, Panda data frame. The first thing is the file name, and then the header. There's no header, so we set it none. And the use columns, we are going to continue to use the use column, that is our input parameters. And then names, let's see what we are going to pass it into this data frame. Include the time, include the stock code, include the changes, the volume, the pattern, the technical pattern, the targets, and then the index column, where we'll assign the time as our index column. And also we need to make sure that this time is a date times object, so we pass date to this column. So once we have this once we have this data frame, we are going to do some data processing and also do some data cleansing. So first thing first, we are going to remove the null value. So we will have the these functions to help us to do that. So let me type it first. Equals to 1. So here we would like to check whether there's any null value inside this data frame, and if any null value, we just return a single columns that contains any null values. So here we have a .any functions to help us to do that, and access and access, it just means that we combining all these columns into just single one column. So and then we put everything inside an index, and so we have the index with NaN. And then we are going to drop the index with the null value, and in pace equals to true. So once we have this index with NaN columns, we are going to put it into these drop functions, and then just if that column is that row is equals to true, we are not going to drop that. If that row is equals to false, we are going to drop that. So 0 here means just means the rows or the columns that we're going to drop. Of course, we are going to drop the rows. And we just do it again to make sure the index is a date times index. But of course, because we already passed the date here, we can ignore this row, ignore this code, line of code, but I still keep it here. It doesn't matter. And then we are going to change the use these functions to change several columns back to the floating type that include the strings and number, that include the stock code, that contains our stock price, and also the volume, and also the target. We're going to change these 3 columns into a floating number type, and we also would like to capture some latest information to display on the graph. So this will get us everything in the last row of this data frame. That is the latest informations, because it is a time series. So, and then we are going to get the latest price and also the latest changes, because we would like to display them in our chart. So we need to change it back to the string. Latest information, the first should be the first elements, and then this is the second element. So now we are going to resampling some of the data. First of all, we are going to resample the data volume. We sample it into 1 minute time interval, and then we get out the mean from the volumes. So what this helps us to do is that, just say for example, if we have a 10 data within a minute, so we just resample it back to 1 minute, but we take out the means to for these volumes, for this from this volume column, and then we are going to put it into a new data frame that is useful for visualizing the volume bar chart later on that we will have. So right now we are moving from the generic data frames to the open, high, low, close data frames. We are going to convert the ticket data to open, high, low, close formats. So we have our first date. We are going to get the stock code column, and we are going to resample everything into 1 minute interval, and also with the open, high, low, close function provided by the data frames. So you can now understand that how important these pandas functions for this exercise, because it can help us to resample everything with the use of the mean, and also it can help us to resample everything with the candlestick chart format. So the next thing is that I would like to do is to get back the time to set up to create a column for time. So here we just get the index and then put it and create new columns that is called times to get the time data. And again, we are going to change it to a datetime object to make sure everything is to make sure the format is what we want. To datetime data time and format equals to percentage y, percentage month, percentage day, and then the hour, and then the minutes, and then the second. And remember that we are going to plot some moving FH along the candlestick. So we are going to also create 3 columns. That is the 5 minutes moving FH, the 10 minutes, and also the 20 minutes. So here again, we can use the closing price to help us to do that, because we just would like to get the trends rather than I mean the trends is good enough for us to know whether it's going upward or it's going downward or any other patterns. So we can use open price, close price, or any other price that within that data frame, that within this open, high, low codes. So again, we can use the pandas functions. That is the rolling 5 means rolling the 5 minutes rolling average. We take the means and then we can change it to 10 minutes, and then we can also change it to 20 minutes. The last column that I would like to add is the data volume difference column. That is the volume difference for each of the volumes, the mean in between the mean. So this the main reasons that we will lead that is mainly because the data volumes, the original data volume is a cumulative volume. So the volume bar charts that we would like to present is just the difference, or just is just this difference between these accumulative volumes, or just that particular volumes for that corresponding candlestick. So we need to calculate the difference between the volume. So in order for us to represent the candlestick with the corresponding volume. So just in case if there is anything wrong with the wrappings, and then the volume is a negative value, that is not what we want, we are going to set this as a null value and we are going to remove that. So here we do it again. We are going to create a index with NAN, and then the data that index, what we are going to do is just similar what we did at the very beginning. We're going to drop the row that contains the NAN column. So what we need to do is to find out the index with the NAN, and then drop that particular row accordingly. So here put the 0 against, that is for the row. In pace equals to true. And what we are going to do, the last thing is to reset the index. So make sure it follows the time series nicely. So in place equals to true. Finally, what we need to do is to return the data, that is the data frame, and then the latest price, the latest changes, the latest technical signal regarding the pattern, the last value, and then also the target, that is the last value as well, and then the volume, that is the last value as well. And that's it for the part 1. I hope you enjoyed it, and in the next video we will create the animations functions to plot the data in an automatic and live way. See you in the next video.